I mean, why 52? You know, there's somebody with no room.
Cracks the corner, struck a chord in my core. I tried to process this long cop in the water. Yeah, the corner store, Tony was a store. You better lead them both. Now your ghost run so complex. Coach left the decode in your poems, sold concepts, sold out shows, and live concerts. Think you still roaming around, alive and on earth. Rebel against oppression with aggression in your message. Controversy, follow every step you took and wrote your legend. Accusations and allegations, your voice and body struggle. Embodied exile, that your work ethic, embodied hustle. You against the world, but you provided us with hope. Many times you regarded as the hope. Choose to love the women, you love the movies. You helped raise this, but better than words, a lot of love you gave us. We need to do it, rock forever shots. Bring back the evil, and lessons that surprise.
I would get killed, but it's so hard to decide. You know, put things in context at the time. It's a lot
Melancholic, yesterday the sky color was scarlet. I'm sitting silent, reminiscing on my days in college. Alcoholic liquor store runs, little to no funds. Had me falling on the crowd for these chicks like a shogun. Reached out in the car, amped up. We hear an ambulance, the sky filling us to put our hands up. What's the problem, officer? We wasn't driving and the car was in the parking lot, ready to brawl hot. He said, there's been a shooting and the car matched the description. I'm driving green Corolla, I don't need a statistician. What the fuck you think I'm plastic gun to go to parties and disrespect? I know your basis, so that's animal logic. Guns running in the car like they're ready to blast. Checking out IDs and registration, getting harassed. Meanwhile, they get a call saying the suspect is caught. They threw IDs right out on the street and fucking peeled off.
I think that my mother, like a lot of people, kept hearing to more club, Harry Tubman. They felt like they were in trapped for generations to come. I think my mother knew that freedom wouldn't come in their lifetime, just like I know that it won't come in mine. That it's a matter of either we stay like this or somebody sacrifice, somebody lay a track so we don't stay in a 360-degree dancing circle. You know what I'm saying? Somebody has to break out and risk, losing everything and being poor and getting beat down. But somebody has to do something.
The hip-hop writer is a creator, composing understanding words of culture brilliance, powering a rebalance of the elements equally. Pages of rejuvenated reaffirmation, simply the almighty leadership of insightful craft work that stands to build through any confrontation born to be. Yet his daily duty is as a journalist that questions properly, uses his ears for the good to filter the real. And as the art decays by dilution, he concentrates the best again and again, exposing it in the print. Today's journalist and tomorrow's historian he listens to share. Here is that necessary attempt executed again and again and again. Peace. This is the Power Right Show on S.STREET Media. This is your brother, the lone low life with the home-sewn garment, the Boricua with the build, the true and living stepping in score, Sunias, a.k.a. Skillustrator Low. And we're on S.STREET Media here, the evolution of media. Seriously, just some saviors off the street who come to meet, greet, talk the beat with you. Now, today's show, we have a special show. It kind of ends up all being interlocked. It ends up all being interwoven because I have a very special guest with me. But before that, let's remind ourselves about what it is that the Power Right Show is about. You know, in this hip-hop writer element, to me, the most treasured part for me, as far as like what gives me life and all this, is really being a creative writer. If I didn't add that creative element overtly, then it wouldn't be a hip-hop element. But the honor is in being a journalist, to show an appreciation of the art by analyzing it a little bit deeper, showing a little bit more, highlighting the techniques where it talents the stories of all these great records making. Now here I said there, appreciation. An appreciation for the best, giving it a deeper hands-on look that people can see what is great, which also means a depreciation of what is not so great and what is being hyped up so much. So here's some little side notes, you know what I mean? Because we do have one feature today. But it's a side note about the journalist, though, and I'm just being clear because we just started. This is our 4th episode, and I'm defining what a hip-hop writer is at this element of hip-hop. But let's first define, like, who the hell's not a journalist? Let's depreciate the journalist before we depreciate music. You're not a journalist if you just re-report, okay? You know, Johnny Pop fell down in the street, and then you're the first website that wrote Johnny Pop fell in the street. And then the second website wrote Johnny Pop fell in the street according to this website, and we have other news following though, but he probably hit himself on the head. These aren't reports, these are re-reports, they're not even digging, they're not giving insight into an artist. And a lot of you are just really press box machines. You know, if you just throw exclusive news 10 minutes before everyone else has it, it's not really, you're not really doing the journalism that we're talking about, the story making, you know? There's a difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant, you know? And there's a difference between a reporter and a journalist, you know? The majority of people in these magazines, they're really reporters, though. They report what they are told to say, and they're not really journaling. They're not really sharing, you know, how this music was made, what are the details of the music, and as I said, one of our last shows, I think it was the first show, no, the second show with Undeniable, before I had them on. It's mainly filled with leeches, you know, that musical so-called artist that's a leech, and then that writer is leeching onto that leech. So they're like leeches, you know what I mean? And this is something disgusting, and this is something that I'm not talking about. Please don't put this in that category. This is something else. But like I said, this episode is intertwined with a lot of stuff. So for our one lone report here before we get to our guest, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about, because our guest is on his MF Doom 2004. So which I think is one of the greatest musical years of an artist I've ever heard, though, as far as quantity mixed with quality. And you know, you go check that out, dig in the crates. But we got another one, because these keep coming up, you know what I'm saying? And we deal with a genetically modified, you know, cipher of hip hop. So this report, the media mutations, I have one every day. You know, I have one every day. I could just make a media mutations anthology, right? But this week's media mutations is this statement right here. It is this statement, this false statement that got propagated. Because I actually was there when Brothers, let me rewind. Brothers, can you see that camera? Can you see that? Can you feel that? I'm going to squiggle this a little bit so you can feel that, right? This idea that, and this, I'm quoted exactly when these so-called brothers said this, and I was there and I was like, what, nigga? They said, Tupac is an entertainer, whereas Biggie is the MC. And the thing is that when it was pitched to me, I'm not going to say which magazine though, but it's similar to an oversized shirt, right? They go to me and say, look, Sue, we got this idea here. Check it out though. I was thinking about this for a long time though, and since you know about this music too. Tupac is really more the entertainer, and Biggie was more the MC. And I'm thinking to myself, why do we need to categorize this in the first place? Like why? Why do we need to tell somebody that? You know what I'm saying? I have my own opinion, and I have my own reasoning who I think is better. If you read my stuff, you already know. But they're totally different MCs, and you know. And in fact, if our conspiracy theories are up to par with anything, it was Tupac that had like the legacy of really sparking the people. And it was more. If we talk about conspiracy theories linking them, though, it's probably just Biggie was killed because just to make it look like it all pairs up. But that's conspiracy theories, and neither here nor there, and that's not my report, okay? But and by the way, that show about Biggie and Tupac and their murderers, though, now they're white heroes that investigated Biggie and Tupac. You didn't find the killers. How are you heroes? The whole show's gonna end. You never find the heroes. The white man can make himself a hero in any type of show, right? That's like a Black Seinfeld commentary. Like, what's the deal with that? Right? Yeah, what do you do, right? But here's why I say this is wrong, though. I wrote a big piece calling Tupac the most unique GOAT candidate of all time. And I care more about GOAT candidacy than I care about who's the GOAT. Because if we go technically GOAT, it's really going to be Rakim or KRS-One. KRS-One is too much work, it's too broad-based, it's set too many techniques, or it's going to be Rakim because the way that he wrote and his writing techniques and his writing style, his voice, slowing down the music, allowing hip-hop to go into that lyrical level, and plus the spirituality, that knowledge of self, the highest level. You can't call yourself higher than the true and living God. You can't beat that. Everyone else is going to follow suit like that, you know what I mean? So at the risk of just pointing out other GOATs, it sounded like LeBron versus Jordan, you know what I mean? I digress, but I said this, right? Here are some of the points why this is a horrible point, because it's really meant to dismiss Tupac as an MC. Because if we did it the reverse, this is how dumb it sounds. If we did it in reverse, it'd be Biggie is not an entertainer, whereas Tupac was. Technically, compared to Tupac, Biggie wasn't that entertainer. So, but it diminishes and dismisses Biggie's talents, all the talents that he had, if we just diminish him as a stage presence, which wasn't comparable at all to Tupac. Just the fame that Tupac had was different. You know what I mean? So here's why it's a stupid statement. Tupac, the most unique GOAT candidate in history, and I always say this, I call him the Langston Hughes of MCs, due to his complexities, which were in capturing the voices of many in extreme emotional detail. The vocabulary is not extremely high. When you read Langston Hughes poetry, you don't need to have a dictionary with you. And yet, it's hard to recreate something that good. It's just the details are there. The way he has so many voices of women, men, children, babies. This is something that a lot of great writers have had throughout history, whether it's Rabindranath Tagore or it's Langston Hughes. And Tupac had that. The techniques, as far as the MC, he had techniques from inflections that everybody uses after. He goes, they try to kill me. This is the power right show, right? Nobody does that. Nobody does that. In fact, go to Killer Priest. The most off-the-wall choice for someone that would be influenced by Tupac. Listen to Killer Priest's second and third albums, 1996, 1998 or 9, 99, 99, right? That's pre-Dark Ages. That's like the last year, right? Listen to Killer Priest and the way he's rhyming and how much Tupac influence he has in that. He was still doing it on Black August album and beyond, though. So, and this is a good thing. This is not whack, because Killer Priest's lyrics, I pick him because his content is so heavy. Tupac could never match that. He probably doesn't even know half of the stories that Priest was mining from. So the influence is huge, and it was original, is what I'm trying to say, and that's what an MC is. There's tempo fluctuations, so like when we hear Tupac rhyme and he gets angry and he goes high, low, something, Royce the 5'9", Jax uses, whatever you want to use, right? But that kind of fluctuations in tempo when they get angry and then they got done, they do the Eminem thing. That's not Eminem's. That's really Tupac. And then an obsession, Tupac also had the obsession with alliteration, which is starting words with the same letter. So you're pitch perfect. I bring perfect picture, like, I'm not an MC, I can't do this shit, I'm not gonna do it, okay? That's why I bring MCs here, so they can rap. But, and then there's the idea of a songwriter filled with countless quotables. We kind of MC by the quotables, and a lot of the other MCs that are lyrical don't have as many quotables as just one song, like Dear Mama, right? If you go to any brother that's hip-hop on the street, he goes, Mama made miracles every Thanksgiving. But they know what you're talking about. They know you're not talking about your mama. They know you're talking about Tupac's mama, So keep your head up. To even anthems like Envision's a Rider, So Many Tears, there's lyrical complexity, if not dexterity, So that level of songwriting has been achieved, to me, the way I see it, it's been achieved less often than the complex linguistics that we love the Pharaoh Monarchs, the Black Thoughts, and the Big Puns for. Their complex lyricism, and we see it as the highest level of technicality, that gets achieved more by great MCs, whether they be ones you know, like Pun I said, or people like Hex One or something like that. And yet, what Tupac did, that is hard to duplicate. It's hard to duplicate that sincerity, and that's why, to me, it sounds funny when people like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, they try to catch those places. It's not that easy. You might as well just keep rhyming fast. But I don't want to go into how Biggie was hardly the dominant technician of his day, extremely limited content compared to the top MCs of the era, or bears massive responsibility and blame for crossing over rap in a form that has shown itself to be easily diluted as these 2 decades have shown. Why? Because I don't want to take the time now. He was a great technical MC, and it doesn't disprove the statement, the fact that he was an MC. He is an MC, and so was Tupac. You know, and I had mentioned that about the live performances as well, though. You know, and that's a big barometer of who's the legendary MC. People pick KRS-One over Rakim a lot of times because of the live component. So if we're gonna go there, then obviously we could just do that with Tupac, you know. But it's not the only barometer, because then Busta Rhymes is the GOAT. Let's not do that. Let's not get nuts here, right? And vocal dexterity would make Busta Rhymes near GOAT. Let's not do that there. He's a great MC, but there's a lot of missing things. So with that, Rand, that's the media mutations today. Please, if I hear you say that, I'm gonna tell you you're a robot, okay? Don't tell me he's the entertainer, like you just came up with a great Facebook build, you know, super tweet. But a lot of MCs, I always tell my favorite MCs, they often inspire art on art. You know, they inspire my art on art, though. So if you see me write something that you think that you like, or I write something that is really long, and I write this long ass poetry and abstract stuff, it's because the artist has really inspired me. And for this one, for this artist that I have as my guest today, he's inspired a whole bunch of them. And this is my most recent one I wrote for the last album of his I reviewed. I said the last album because he keeps coming with stuff. I can't keep up with that. But I have written this. I said, falsettos on ladders, a voice for the people's shrills in their blissed ears. It's a lovely pitch, only to the daring, so the soul prana performs. See, we may be fiery, but we need more than a jingle, a build past mingle. Warrior words octaves beyond them, deliberate post-lingual. So while you gots to get them up in the guts, get them with all their gore. Pot of the Dama, score in your form. Cause I wonder about the world when it gets too tough. When the hellish pits and the savage sheets go with rondo form. So I say, all praise due the black Napoleonic sopranos. They be composing words, burning the cognizance and howls into sly illables. All out these damned alphabets. Now I wrote that for an MC I consider in this invisible renaissance, these 2010s, I consider him to be an essential MC. And I was saying it so much so that his content, and for the listener, I'll repeat this, I've said this on other shows I've had my guest on. This was an MC I just knew was going to be something that was a brother about the struggle, about us. And the first time I interviewed him, he invited me to his home, and lo and behold, I didn't even realize this, I brought the whole family. I brought my Earth, I brought my daughter, my oldest daughter, and I didn't know it yet, but I brought my little baby, because she was still in the belly, I didn't know. So I brought the whole family to meet him. You know what I mean? And we kicked it in, and we've been brothers for these years. He's an essential MC, and I think that when I was saying it, he was the one essential MC I was picking that didn't have enough work. And then now he's really coming on at this end. He had to wait till the end of the decade, make me sweat through the whole thing, because I had all my picks right. But my guest is Napoleon the Legend. Peace, brother.
Peace. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, definitely, brother. You know, I wasn't kidding when I said that. Like, after Awakening, it's one of the albums in this decade that I remember where I was sitting when I heard the album.
Crazy.
You know, you just mailed it to, and so then you gave it to me too, because you were like, hey, you know, check it out, see if you like it and stuff. And I was like, man, this guy he doesn't even think his shit is dope like that. Like, everybody gives me a whole sermon, they kick one bar like that before they give it. And then I was on a train, I was reading and I was half sleeping, so I said, let me put some music, let me try this, brother. And I put it on and I'm like, holy shit, he's hitting all the ranges, all of those things. And then all of a sudden, it felt like it stopped. And it was great because you were on tour, you were doing all this tour stuff, and it made sense. But then something happened. You released the Steal This mixtape. You released the, I forget what the other one was, the later one with the DJ, the 40 cut one.
Oh yeah, the compilation, the legendary mixtape.
Right, the legendary mixtape, which was really good. That was like, okay, my man still got the bounce. He's still in the running for Essential MC, right? And then what happened was that something happened though, and I felt to me, something different happened too with Black Privilege, the original Black Privilege, the way it was received and all of that, and the way that it lended itself to just opening up people to your lyricism, and then you just barrage them. And most of the show we're going to spend talking about not even all the records he's released since December, because I'm going to miss the EP. I'm going to do that on purpose, because it's really dope. It has great cuts. Brooklyn was banging, you know what I mean? And all the other ones. But I'm going to focus on the let me see, what's 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to call them LPs. I'm cheating here. They're LPs to me that he's released since December. And I want to start with Tupacgrapher. Tupacgrapher was an ode to Tupac. If you go to his Bandcamp, you can follow along with this. It's Napoleon the Legend, DA Legend, .bandcamp.com. And Tupacgrapher was said to be released December of 2017. But it kicked wind really in the next year, so it's really about this year. But we had Legends Never Die playing the beginning of the show. And if I could pull a Michael Eric Dyson and just rhyme some lyrics, you know, nice and slow so everybody gets it though. But you had said this, right? And you had said, Tupac Shakur struck a chord in my core. I try to process it while copping a 40 at the corner store. Tory was a soldier and a leader both. Now you're a ghost, Rome so complex. Told you left the decode in your poems. I might have butchered that up. But this idea of, that I thought you captured perfectly about Tupac, and why I think, and please elaborate about why you were paying homage to him, was because there's something else in his music that you were catching and was inspiring you.
Yeah.
And I see it very similar to your mission.
The passion was there, and it's like, it's funny because I understood Tupac differently from like, as I grew up, I had to look back, you know, I still had to dig some more. And what it was is that he definitely was part of my upbringing and growing up, you know, when it came to that. And he had a voice, and you felt like he cared, where a lot of times...
Of course, Tupac cares if nobody else cares.
Well, you know what I'm saying? But he had that sincerity about him and that energy, and it's just like, I don't know where it came from, but it's not a common energy that, you know, an artistry that I've seen. And sometimes I forgot how much he influenced, you know, what I did, and me, and also people around me. How many friends do I have who like, yo, Tupac was my father, Tupac raised me? I can't go as far as saying that, you know what I'm saying? But it's just his influence and impact was like so crazy, where, you know, something compelled me to do it. It wasn't something I premeditated. I was just having fun with one of his beats. The first song I did was Pain, and it's like, I always loved that song. I'm like, you know what, let me just do it to have fun. And I was just like, why not? Let me just go ahead. And it's just like, and I used to hear Pop, they said that he recorded Machiavelli in like 7 days. And I ended up recording that album in like 7 days, you know what I'm saying? So that was kind of cool.
It's so well arranged. You know, like the way it goes into his cuts, it goes into his vocals, it goes, you know, he uses his production, but it also flips in the original samples sometimes. And I love the way you did that. I forgot which one it was that uses the chorus vocals, and it comes in, and then you go in for the next verse. These are really great arrangements that are on this, you know, like, who did the production on this song?
I did.
And is that from the same home studio?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I don't know how you get a sound so good out of a home studio like that.
Well, trial and error, man. Just doing it over and over again. Like every project, it might not seem that way, like, but it leads to the next. And I learned something from every project I do. So if you look at the way Still This mixtape was put together, 1 and 2, it kind of influenced how Topographer was doing, because my idea was like, you know what? Tupac was so outspoken, had so much interviews and so much content out there. Let him narrate the mixtape. I just gotta rap. He's gonna narrate it for me.
Right, his own ideas.
He's talking about Trump and he's talking about Trump. He's talking about a lot of things that's so interesting and current. I'm gonna make him narrate the mixtape, and I wanted everything to have a logical sequence to it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. It came to me real quick, you know. It wasn't something that I had to really. I was inspired. Let's put it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, there was something I wanted to say, and it ties into what I was saying about Tupac, and I just want to throw it in here.
Yeah.
But that song, "The Legends Never Die," I felt like you used the device. I don't even know if it was really willing, but I felt like you mastered a lot of his ideas, and that's because I see a lot of sincerity in the way you rhyme. You know, and so if it was really fitting that you paid homage. But that last verse in "Legends Never Die," it kind of does what Tupac does a lot, where it talks about a macro issue and then it makes a micro example of it.
Yeah.
And you did that. And when you talk about the police and the police situation you have, and I just want to explain how I see this to the listener. I call it a pictorializing, that an MC can put you in there, that, you know, by doing that, they put you in there. To appreciate lyricism, we make the mistake of focusing on vocal dexterity, which isn't a marker for this. We also make the mistake of only focusing on amazing word choices and details. So like, there are great MCs that will do it and they'll pictorialize for you and put the vision in your head, and it'll be by the detail. Like Jizza will do it by word choices, like using boulder instead of rock.
Yeah.
Or Nas will do it like split the phlegm on the street, and you immediately envision that. And it keeps you like, it gives you the visions of his universe. You know, it's like it opens the window. But Tupac used to often do it emotionally. And I think you captured that a lot in his way. So like, you know, Tupac would do it like, feels good putting money in your mailbox when the rent's due. You know, and you're like, yeah, man, that does feel good. And you don't have a cue about the mailbox. It's about how you feel when you paid your damn bill, and you don't have to worry about things. You don't have to worry about your family for another month. You're good. You achieve something like that. You achieve some level of safety, of a safety net. And that kind of emotional pictorializing, you achieved it through this whole thing. It's one of the most successful homages to Tupac, and I just thought that song was impeccable with that. And it was all over that.
And let me add an element that I think is missing that Pop should do. It's a Jay Dilla beat. The emotion, the piano, the emotion. You know, like I said, just the same way I didn't premeditate. It's like that beat just took me there, and I'm like, yo, it took me back there, and it allowed me to capture that emotion. So, you know, Jay Dilla has something special. You know, like I was sleeping on like a lot of his catalog till I used his beat.
Right.
Some people, you don't really, you got to get to a certain level to get the greatness. We're talking about books. You read the wrong books and you're not ready, you might not get it. And
it's the same thing.
I get it after, but like when you rap to it, you're like, oh, okay, Mad Lib
that's
is
a good point, because Jay Dilla, for me, I was the guy, he's this guy that ruined Tribe Called Quest, you know? But his catalog had great songs with a lot of artists in their albums. But the way you appreciate Jay Dilla to me is when you collect all his beat tapes.
Yes.
And when you collect all those beat tapes and those instrumental LPs, then you see where he was going with stuff. You know, I think his magic is seen there, and it probably will come to fruition when brothers like you continue to rhyme off those beats that a lot of people haven't used. There's a lot of gems.
Exactly.
That's how it multiplied the collection. Really, probably tripled, quadrupled it with that. You know what I mean? It's really those instrumentals that were never used and stuff. You know. But yeah, I didn't realize it was a Jay Dilla beat. But there's another song that was in my head, right? That called to me, was "Change the World." You know, that intro, and it wasn't for the listener. He doesn't rhyme on this. It's the intro, but it talks about the ghetto and us helping our people in poverty. But it says this: we can't help because when we have means, then we have to leave the ghetto. So when we have means, we have to leave the ghetto. So like, I was thinking about that, and even in my own life, if I help people, it's probably because the wealth that I have isn't really measured by riches.
Yeah.
I don't have riches, so if I say I'm a poor righteous teacher, it's because I've sacrificed a lot of possible wealth for what I possible riches for what I consider wealth, you know, so a massive library, a massive musical library, things like that. Like, nobody's gonna go into my house and say, oh, I want that book, you know what I mean? I need that book, you know? Nobody's gonna do that. And maybe a couple of my students will, because they're fiends, but that's a good thing, like if they're robbing my house for a book. But in this case, change the world, what is your answer? Because you're an MC, if things take a turn in that direction, and just like the whole world embraces your music as I would hope that they really would, and why I write, then you would be in that situation too, just as Tupac was. And we saw people tried to make Tupac a hypocrite for certain things, but it was more naive than anything else, because it's hard to have an answer for that, you know?
I mean, it's very tough. Do I have an answer? No. I think it's the type of thing you only know when you experience it, and you just have to feel like you're prepared and you're and grounded, and always look at the big picture, and always know that you're not gonna have everybody all the time, and sometimes but if you have a big picture and a goal in mind, you know that, you know what, I might lose a few people here, but y'all gonna get it at the end once I get to the end point, hopefully, because that's the plan. And stick to the plan and not get sidetracked, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know how far a Tupac, well, he talked about his vision being like really broad and really far, but that world when he got in, like, that's some crazy stuff. I don't know, and he was really young too.
Yeah, it made me think of that book. It's an out of print book, but they have copies on eBay and stuff. It's like a pull-out book. It has all these Tupac Shakur legacy. Yeah. It's got pull-outs. It's a real different kind of book, and it even has like recreations of his composition notebook and like little blueprint drawings of what he wanted to build, like a whole community center, like the way he was doing. He was thinking like on some real Black Panther, but extended, like a more larger vision of extending the reach of the community reach, you know?
It's funny because me and my friends back in DC, we were making plans of building girls and boys clubs in Africa. But the thing is, I always want to stay rooted to where I'm from. I know, you know, I'm from the Comoros Islands, the lower East Africa, and that has to stay with me, you know, regardless of what, you know, even if I haven't lived there for too long, you know what I'm saying? Right. It's just a part of me that, yo, if I disconnect from that, like, I'm gonna be lost in space, you know, at the end of the day. So, yeah, you know, I might veer left or right. We all get distracted at some point, but I have to keep reminding myself and write things down, and my path is clear. This is where I want to take it, and you know, just be strong and put out my best foot forward every day. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. You know, you kind of already answered this because you went into pain, but I also had another song that reminded me that macro into the micro, and that balance there was When It Rains.
Oh yeah.
Because you really did it there too, and I had pain listed as one of those. And there's something else that I see that you've always, in all the bids you've had, off air, on air, right? There is something you do that is rarely done, and this is something that even we do, like we want to build, and we say that, yo, they the blind, deaf, and dumb, and we're the builders, and, you know, we put ourselves above people. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we lose love for the people. But every time you talk about issues, and I've seen this countless times, though, you tend to also put yourself at blame, too. Like, when you say we, as a people, aren't doing stuff, that's, you're inside that. You're not outside looking in. That's you also falling victim to that, too. And so this idea of going through the suffering, going through all these things that you embrace as well. And how does that navigate? Because in a lot of positions of speaking to people, whatever form it is, and MCing would be a form, the idea is that, like, now I'm responsible to be the leader in this situation. Though I can't just be like the one that says he's falling victim all the time. Yeah. And you know, in some respects, we could argue that has ruined some of the MCing, because a lot of people, like, you know, we get the honest rapper, like the Kanye level, with like, yeah, I'm a piece of shit, I want diamonds, and they got them, and they, you know, and then what happens is that they self-critique themselves, but then that's it. There's no self-blame. It's more like, hey, I'm a piece of shit just like everybody else. How do you navigate those worlds there? Like, when you think of ideas, you see this suffering, you also miss the suffering. So how can you give a solution? How does this go along with this conflict?
Well, it's about, I think, being sincere and honest. I don't think I would be honest, looking above people and acting like, yo, I haven't made those mistakes. I haven't went through that path. And it's like, yo, I want to speak to the people, so I want them to relate. You know what I'm saying? I think, it's funny, last year when I went on tour, I had a show with Jerry the Damager. I had the pleasure of meeting him, and we were talking a lot. And he now lives in Berlin, right? Not to put his life out, but I'm pretty sure people know. You know what I'm saying? But he was like, yo, when he was living in New York and he grew up in New York, he was very aggressive with his thoughts and everything like that. And he had never gotten out. And he realized that, it helped him get another perspective. I have a multitude of perspectives just from my background. You know what I'm saying? I'm, East African background, born in Paris, France. Came to DC, Maryland. I was 4 years old. Grew up out here. Then I moved to New York. So I have a lot of different perspectives on different things,
right.
And I like to show different point of views. You know what I mean? Not just one point of view, or it's that way, or it's like it's that way. I don't know the answer. Sometimes through inspiration, I might stumble upon something that's really like a jewel, and I put it in a rhyme. But I'm learning every day. That's why I path of a warrior. It's a path.
Right.
It's not. It's in the path. If you see the album cover, it's like this. It's not a straight line. You want it to be a straight line, but it's not a straight line. And I want to embody that through my music. Like, yo, I know a few things. I've seen a few things, but you know what? I make my mistakes every single time, and I learn from it. And I want people to get that from my music too. Come from that perspective.
There was one thing I wanted to. We talking about this journey, and I thought that it's something that we've been able to see in your music. The journey of you and how you've gone through not just the upbringing, but this journey as an artist, like the daily living, all these kind of things. If we listen closely to all these projects, there's always a song where you kind of give us like these little choices that you confronted with and things like that. I thought that Letter, Picture Me Rolling, and definitely the last verse of I Ain't Mad had all of that journey, that step in the journey, and it had me thinking, about how journalizing your own path also inspires you. Yeah. Like sometimes like it fortifies you. Like I noticed a lot of songs like when you say, yo, I'm gonna be this MC full time, this is the career. I also felt like you supporting yourself by putting that into the lyrics.
Exactly. My music is my vision board. Like how people have vision board, they put collages of what they want. I really believe like you speak things, think things into existence. You know what I mean? If you visualize something and a grand enough a vision for yourself. So the funny thing is, ever since I was rapping, and my friends used to tell me like, yo, you said that in the rhyme, that happened. And I used to think, words, so I'm gonna keep saying some stuff, and like, yo, and I make it seem like it's not. I want to feel that moment. Because sometimes it's not just about visualizing. If you feel it, like it's right there. And look last year, look all the stuff that's been happening. I went on tours, you know what I'm saying? I hit big stages, I did Rocksteady, like stuff like,
That's right.
I was on Fox 5 News doing Black Privilege in DC. Like stuff like, you know what I mean? And I'm really one where I'm like, I'm not gonna hold back on my imagination and on my creativity and what I could create, because we create our lives every second of the day. Like you said, sometimes you gotta get out your element. If your element is like so depressing, there's nothing going on. My music helps me get out of it. So I'm gonna say some stuff that I want in my music. You know what I'm saying? It's my journal. I'm privileged enough to have that.
I wanted to remind you of something that we talked about that, looking back on it, has been very instrumental to us both in this decade. Was that show where you opened for KRS-One.
Yeah.
And remember, I was there.
Yeah.
And KRS-One was talking about, like, you know, and it's a thing he wrote about in gospel hip hop. He's expounded on it and stuff. But you know, he was talking. One thing he said really affected me, and one thing he said affected you.
Yeah.
And what I remember you telling me that affected you was the thing he said about, like, you know, you can go do this. You can do this as a career, as an MC. And in that time, though, I had done so much writing and stuff. I was thinking, like, it's just a side thing. I just write. And then he was like, if you've been doing this hip hop thing so long, look back and you realize you do have a career. And I look back and I was like, yo, there's a whole career. There's 20 plus years of articles, lectures, you know, shows, right? And it just made me realize, yo, this is my career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it affected you as well too. You felt like, I don't know, you just had a different gusto when you realized what he said, you know?
It's the power of words. That's why in my songs I say things like that too, because I know some people are listening. It's the first time somebody of that caliber, he wasn't talking to me, he was talking to the crowd like that. He was talking to me because he's so charismatic. I thought the first time somebody told me that with somebody that I really respected like that, and so I took it seriously, you know what I'm saying? Because I take hip hop seriously, you know what I mean? So when somebody like that tells you, yo, if you got a job, quit. 3 months later, I quit. I actually did it. I'm probably the only one in the room that did it, like, because he said it, but I did it because he said it, because I kind of blindly trusted what he said. Because
it was already, like, really in line with what you were thinking to do the whole time.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
It was kind of a catalyst, and it was like, there's no coincidences. There's a reason why we was both in that room, and we was affected like that.
Absolutely.
But just moving to New York, that decision in itself, from Maryland to come to New York, put a battery pack in my bag. And that's the reason why you were like, yo, you heard something in Awakening, and it took so long before you heard something else, because it was me being like, adjusting. I had to adjust to this. You know, it was a different lifestyle, it's a different place. People don't understand. It's a life movement. You saw where I was living. It was new to me. The people I was meeting was new to me. The experience was new to me. Then I was on a road. Things started picking up quick after that Sean Price stuff.
Right.
I finally got my bearings back. And I think it was 2 years later. I was like, yo, I ain't put out nothing. And I was like, you know what? You know, clean house, get your stuff. You know.
And then there's so many ideas. There's so many things that happen.
Exactly.
You know.
And then boom.
Now let's go to the other album you were alluding to, the Path of Warrior with DJ Doom, and it's with DJ Doom. He did all the beats, which also means that if you do it with DJ Doom, you're gonna get Eddie Sancho engineering it. So you know, that's Primo's guy. So that means that you're gonna have a high quality production. Like the Sonics is gonna be official. You know, and I actually heard some music. Just boom rapping. Yeah, it's just Miles Davis. You know what I mean? Like the quality is there. You hear the drums, everything was snapping, ridiculous. Your vocals were crisp. You gotta keep it real. Like if you want like you have yourself the archetypal boom bap album. You know what I mean? But I wrote a lot about this. I reviewed this. The poem that I read was from that review that I wrote for PremierHipHop.com. And just how did this project come together? No one, I haven't really detailed, like, I know some personal stuff, but how did this project come together where you said, look, it's going to be these 10 tracks, it's going to be this, like?
Well, Prime Time from Dysfunctional Family, original DJ, introduced me to DJ Doom. He told us, y'all should work together. And so I used to go to the Bronx. And he's very like, yo, come to the crib, listen to the beats. It's not like email me beats. And the 10 songs that you heard was the only 10 songs we recorded.
Wow.
So every song was like on point. Like, you know, the first song I did with him was, the first beat I heard was Gone. And then like, kept, you know, I'd go to his crib, listen to music, and just record one by one. And we had 10, and it was like, that's it right there. There wasn't no doorways, there wasn't no, that's what we did, right there.
You know, for the listener, I had said in that review that this LP signifies Napoleon's smooth appeal of simplicity. You know, there's a foolery you do on the mic, because it sounds like you're simple. And it's like, hey, you can listen to me. I'm not going to go over your head, rapper. And then they listen and they get into it and like, shit, I gotta rewind. This is some heavy shit. You know, it's really rare. And it goes. I call it a simplicity of precise enunciation, a natural sincerity that speaks to us, not at us, and a deeper insight that then cleverly appears to be logical and obvious to the listener over time. You know, but there was a song where and I had written about this, and I remembered your reaction to this. You were telling me this when you read the review. So I have to say this on Steve, which is a great storytelling though. It was so detailed. And you said selling coke to the co-workers at the coffee maker, kept a small container under the desk at Goldman Sachs trying to meet the goals his manager set. His word is bond, he was a man of respect. In money making Manhattan, he had to learn how to manage the stress. And I wrote this little note in there and said, notice how the rhyme is being layered with man, the word man through these bars, like whether Manhattan, man, and stuff like that. And I deliberately didn't say it like try to rhyme it though. I want you enjoy that. He said that, I didn't say that. But when you hear that, these are things that MCs do, these are devices that come, and for you said you didn't even notice that you had done that. You know, how is this so? I gotta put you on the spot. How is this, how are you writing this? And these devices are being used that people are writing books on, like, you know, the scholars write books so then every suburban kid could rhyme now, you know, how to rap book 1, book 2, and I don't know how those books, they confuse me more than the stuff when I just listen to raps and see what they're doing, you know, when they put everything on a Q note and a bar.
I don't think that way.
Yeah, a lot of MCs don't think like that, you know, when they write.
It's funny, I had a friend that used to write like that, and they used to baffle me, like, how you do it? Like, we would, like, write it out like a drill. But me, like, I don't know, bro. Like, I write, and I like words. So, but I don't really force. I'm against forcing rhymes. I think that's corny, and I think that's whack. That's just a personal taste thing. That's why it's funny when you say, yo, keep rapping fast, because yeah, it's cool. I can rap fast too. You know, it's in my capabilities.
Sure.
I do it to show off, or I do it because I feel like it, or because the beat calls for it. But I don't like to be intricate no more for the sake of being intricate. I think it became kind of corny, and cats try to like just put. I want y'all to understand whatever I'm saying, and just understand and do it with finesse. You know what I mean? Did it look like when you watch a Michael Jordan, did it look like he was doing F? It looked like it was easy. But if you go on the court and try to do it, you realize that it's far from easy. Just running up and down the court 3 times is probably gonna
Get you winded, yeah.
Right? But they make it look so easy. It's not easy, but it's just like, I like the fact that I could finesse it in a way, like you said, that it looks like simple, this conversation.
Yeah. And that's what makes a boom bap record. It's the subtleties of it, you know? There was one last thing about this album. On Devil and God, you said, selling your soul, what it really mean? Is it a transaction or a pact involving sexual satisfaction? Or rather humiliation for stronger affiliation? So to speak, next week you on the telly making millies famous, right? Or is that biggest lie to keep us paranoid and wasting time breaking down theories instead of growing? You know, it's funny, you mentioned like a whole bunch of things people are doing to get on and stuff like that, you know? And we were talking about like that crossover thing. Sometimes you don't know what's crossing over, or you don't know that challenge to sell out because you're too close to it.
Yeah.
You know, so like, do you ever make music and get suggested things that you're like, I can't, has it happened? Like, nah, I can't do that.
Yeah. A lot of times. And if everything I have to do, I have to feel comfortable, and it has to feel right. And you learn about yourself, because I've done in the past things that I was not comfortable with. So, and you know what's funny is that your surrounding, even when we were talking about pot, not to bring it back when you like with the success, surrounding is so important, because the people around you influence you so much, where sometimes you got to really pick and choose who you're around, and know yourself really, really well. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what was your question again?
No, it was just that this idea of selling out. Have you recognized this? Are there things, and you were answering that?
Yeah, like sometimes people, it could be a very subtle thing, you know, and be like, yo, why don't you do this on a song? And it's just like, I don't know, if it don't feel, it feels like a gimmick, or it feels like I'm doing it for that, it didn't come naturally.
And I ask you this though, to set that up when we get to Afro Street.
Yeah, for sure.
But before Afro Street, some questions about the Steal This Mixtape 3, right? What makes a song a Steal This Mixtape song?
The Still This Mixtape song is like an obscure beat that most people haven't heard, that was dug up, that has dope, that could have been a classic, but people don't really know about it. And me tackling it, not just like a freestyle. Like, for me, Still This Mixtapes are albums. Like, I record them like albums. Like, I tell real stories. I do songs. I really want to, you know, I pour my soul in it. It's not just, like I said, it's not just to show off. You know?
It's one of the reasons when I start to grade stuff and I start to categorize it, I say original mixtape.
Yeah.
Because over the years, brothers like yourself have made it, like using other people's beats, but these are original songs. They're not just some bars, you know? But a couple of songs, like the Black Privilege Song Saga.
Yeah.
You know, and on this one, I felt like this one detailed the concept of black privilege. And I just want to go on a record away from anything that is associated with Napoleon the Legend and say that I have continued to feel, right, and this is my thoughts only, I have continued to say that black privilege is originally Napoleon's idea, okay? The Charlemagne, the god, like, he's not the god, so I don't know why he's calling himself that, but that book, Black Privilege, literally mentions black privilege at the bookends of the book. I know, because I stole your book. I have it right here. It's right here, right? Black privilege is mentioned in the corners of the book, and it doesn't have any of the thematic details that the Napoleon Legend song had. Just on that alone makes me dubious and reasonable doubt as far as who's really came up with this, though. And if I had to call it, I'd call that shot. You know what I mean? I'll bet a good amount of it, though. You know what I mean? I'll bet you all my Drake records that shit is not his, you know? But aside from that, Napoleon, back to you, because I don't want you to associate with it. You have, and you've been bigger than all that in this. It's pretty clear that you had met Charlemagne the God, you had given him a shirt, and that's where it ended. It did what it did. But to me, it was an actual fact that you've given the detail of this concept of black privilege, that we have this special gift to overcome this oppression repeatedly and build even greater things, and that's the privilege of being black. It's such a beautiful thought. You know, it's a negative term for a positive thought. It's such a dope ring, and that's really what hip hop is.
Yeah.
You know, like when we talk about the Wynton Marsalis thing, that's what hip hop is, that negative concept, really positive now. But in this black privilege saga, like, do you feel like now people are understanding what you meant by it? You know what I mean?
Well, that's why I felt like it. Like, I like how you call it a saga, because it is, and it's done. It's ongoing. It's just like the first song for me. It was like the feeling of black privilege. You know, the emotion of black privilege. And I feel like I did black privilege to explain it, because I see a lot of people didn't understand it. I had so many comments like, yo, what you talking about? And it coming from our people, like, yo, what are you talking about? There's no such thing as black privilege or whatever. And I'm like, it is because I said it, you know what I mean? Because you know, the concept is there. It's not in the dictionary, so I created it, you know what I'm saying? So what you mean it's not
it's
there?
your slang, yeah.
It's like, it's there because I said so. You understand what I'm saying? But from the inception, and it's bigger than that too. But you know, I got a lot of pushbacks. I wanted to explain to people too, because okay.
Because I felt this number 3 explains it perfectly. Like, it's just crystal. If you didn't get the other two, let's forget about your mental acumen. But the third one, if you ain't got it by then, you know, you're gonna have
getting sharper in my head as I'm going. So.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a working concept. You know, it's one of those working themes. You know, there was another line in Black Excellence, right? And this is why I think sometimes I love original mixtapes, because sometimes when I hear an MC on a beat that we know they can't use for an album because it's been overused, but to hear you on Rising to the Top, it's just nice. It's nice to see your favorite MCs mess with that. Like,
always wanted,
you know, but you can't do it as official song. I mean, Rakim, you gotta leave it with Rakim as far as official. But it was really dope the way you flowed, and I had a lot of good ideas. But you said, what's the definition of a coon? Let's set the rules so we can kick them all out. And I'm just saying here that I got a lot of work on the definition. Like, I have made detailed files about the definition. So anytime you want to, you know, start this whole coon capturing you know.
Well, it's good because I think that sometimes that word could be thrown out. It's like saying somebody's a snitch. That's a jugular. That's a real accusation when you call somebody a coon. So like, let's have some rules.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
you are a coon because this.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be cataloged.
So eventually, me and Napoleon are going to start our coon catching club, Triple C. So we're going to start that soon. But let's go with this though, because now with Afro Street, right? There's a couple of things I want to say with Afro Street, right? That I have to give you my honor warning now. Now that you made Afro Street, that with great varied talent comes responsibility. That you can make an incredible songs of charisma, with charisma, on women, on sexual exploits, and you can make it dance music. So the more complex the web that you weave, the more MC talent, with the more MC talent, so meaning that the brother right here actually has the talent to sell out. Some guys don't have the talent to sell out. Yeah, it's clear now that you have the talent to sell out though. So now, with great power comes great responsibility, Spider Napoleon. You know what I mean?
I like that you said that.
Yeah.
You know why? Because I'll tell you why. That you recognize that. I don't like people having discussions, yo, I'm better than him and that, knowing that you cannot do that. It's like, just me as a competitor, just like on the sport of rap, I'm be like, oh, I could hit on that beat and smash it too and sound fly. That's important to me personally. That's just me being the sports, the playing sports and rap.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
This is your Ghostini. Yeah, this is your Ghostini album.
Yeah, more or less, I guess. I haven't listened to Ghostini too much.
Yeah. I'm just saying the vibe and stuff like that. Yeah.
It's like, yo, man, I'm deep in these waters, man. Sometimes I gotta go up and take a breath.
You know, let's talk about the album's music, because I had said last week, just out of a tangent thought, that the 70s is the greatest era of recorded music as far as genres peaking, a whole bunch of them. And we wouldn't have hip-hop if it wasn't for the 70s. And a lot of African music not only was inspired and created, but was in their peaks though. Afrobeat is being one of them though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so many, like, a lot of the music that we think about, whether it be salsa or others, these are musics with African rhythms, African polyrhythms. And the Afro Street. Tell me the musics that you use. Explain some of the genres that all influence you, because that journey you said from Comoros Islands, all the way through Paris, all the way to DC to New York City, it's got every single thing you can think of from there.
Exactly. Yeah. There's Zouk, which is a music I listen to a lot, but I actually sampled a Zouk song called Chemistry. I did it with Natasha. There's a clap. People that know Zouk know that song. There's reggae. There's like straight up reggae. There's from Babylon, New Babylon, with Wymie and J.J.
And I would say that there's an influence of roots and dancehall.
There's
roots and there's dancehall.
And Afrobeat is a lot of different things.
Right, it's hard to classify.
Yeah, there's like very commercialized Afrobeat. There's like Fela Kuti, which is like the real Afrobeat, and there's things in between too. Like some of the interludes, I put music straight from Comoros Islands that I don't even know what the name of it is. There's Soukous, there's Coupé de Calais, there's so many different rhythms, and you can't just, like when you hear Poulet Mafé, and it's like, I'm throwing out things. You can't rap any other way to something like that, but you gotta find a pocket, and the pocket is different, and the emotion is different.
How much fun was it making this album? Because there's so many flows that you tried. You tried that deadpan flow. You tried you tried almost like a trap flow. But we actually make out the lyrics. Like, he was trying so many different things. It must have been really fun to do the record.
Well, I had a blast, honestly, and I had fun. This is the most fun I've been having, making all these records. But the fact, these are the things that keep me sharp. And that I like doing, because I figure out new stuff. Or I see, I could do this, I could do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think you could tell that I'm having a good time, and I don't want to take myself too seriously all the time. And that's the thing. Maybe it's a risk I'm taking, but it's something that I want to take, because I don't feel like I got to prove you got to everybody. I could ball out every single time. Like, I don't feel like I need to. I have encompassed people's careers in like 4 months.
Yeah. And I think, as we conclude here, I think that these 4 records that I've gone through is like a complete form of the diversity. I mean, this is complete MCing. Napoleon. This is amazing work, you know what I mean? And I just want to thank you for this work, you know? They inspire me. They're bringing enjoyment and inspiring everyone else, though, and they're, you know, from the prototypical boom bap album all the way to the progressive Afro Street, you know? And that the Black Privilege series, all of this stuff, the Steelers mixtape series. Go to Napoleon the Legend, that's DA, legend.bandcamp. Get those things. We flew by this hour because we have actually good music to talk about. Now, you get his music, go to premierhiphop.com to read this stuff, listen to S.STREET Media stuff.
Can we put it on SoundCloud? Can we put it on SoundCloud, please?
SoundCloud is it, yeah.
So we can throw it on SoundCloud.
Definitely, we'll put some on our SoundCloud, and as always, this was the Power Right Show, and with your brother Sunius, and as always, a Never Respect Fate broadcast. Peace.